let's talk about gun belts and holsters and why they're so important. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the journey. So, with all the money that we spend on our guns, our weapon mounted lights, our optics, it's very easy to forget and neglect the items that are just as important. And in this case, I'm talking about gun belts and our holsters. So, I've definitely been guilty of neglecting that and cheaping out on a belt as well as a holster, and I've come to regret it. And I want to help you avoid that pitfall. So I want to have a quick discussion on that, as well as show you some of the ones that I currently use. Now, this is not a recommendation for you to use the same items I'm using, because everybody's body frame and type is going to be different. Everybody's carrying a different kind of gun. And at the end of the day, you want to find something that's going to be comfortable to you, because this is something that is going to be what you're going to be carrying on a regular day basis. So what applies for me definitely won't apply to you. Starting off with belts, it's very easy to neglect the belt because it's not something that you really think about. It's not glamorous. No one's really looking at your belt unless they're looking at your waist, and 9 out of 10 times if you're carrying, your belt line is not really showing because your belt line is where your gun is. So you don't want to be flossing your belt because you don't want people to see what you have. So if you're looking at buying a gun belt and you're thinking, what's the point of me getting a gun belt? I could just wear my regular belt. You're going to be in for a really rude awakening, because unfortunately, the nice Gucci belts that you may be wanting to wear, or even if you just want a regular belt from like Kmart, well, Kmart's not around anymore, but TJ Maxx or Marshalls or any other store like that you could buy a regular belt from. Unfortunately, those belts are not made to be able to carry the kind of weight that you have when you're holding a gun on there. And once you also, if you're looking to add like something like an extra magazine, that's even more weight that you have to carry. These belts are just not made to carry that. And as over time, they're going to start folding over and start sagging, and that's the last thing you want. So this is where gun belts come into play, because they're geared and made to be able to support the weight of your firearm. So I currently have 2 belts that I use, and each of these have a different purpose. So I'm going to start off with the main one that I carry right now. This belt is by Next Belt. That's the name of the brand. And this one is geared towards appendix carry, because I typically carry appendix right now. So the reason why I went with this particular belt is because, one, it's geared towards appendix carry, because as you can see with this really small buckle, when you're carrying appendix, you don't want a holster that's going to be impeding on where your holster is going to be, because it's going to make it very bulky or very uncomfortable. So by having a small buckle, it takes up less space around the front of your waistline and gives your holster more room for it to sit along your waist. This also has a ratcheting system that allows me to be able to adjust on the fly. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but bring it closer to the mic. So that allows me to be able to adjust on the fly. So let's say I'm going out to dinner and I know I'm going to be really, really greedy that night, and I'm going to have the extra big tactical belly. I can loosen this right there by pressing a button, and I can just loosen it right there on the spot. And once I'm leave there and I stand up and start moving around, I can tighten it again, so that way my belt's not sagging. So I can adjust on the fly, I can loosen on the fly. So that's why I carry this belt for appendix. It's a nylon material, so you can wear this for every day, but sometimes we want to dress accordingly and fashionably. So this is one I use for regular everyday carry. However, if I'm going to carry on the side like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, then I carry this belt, which is made by Core Essentials. This is a nice genuine leather belt. It also has a ratcheting system very similar to the Next Belt, as you can see here. I'm not sure if I'm showing it properly. There you go. So those are your ratchets there. So it has the same system. I can adjust on the fly. I have a little lever here, so I can loosen it. So once again, I can loosen on the fly, so I can give my tactical belly some room whenever I'm being really greedy and being fat when I'm at the restaurant. Or if I just want to sit down Al Bundy style and I just don't want to feel all that extra gun pressing against me, and I just want to loosen up to feel comfortable, I can adjust accordingly. Also, I want to look fashionable when I'm wearing it. So like if I'm going to a venue, say like church, or I know that's kind of taboo. But if I'm going somewhere where I want to dress kind of more on the formal side, I'll go with this. This is good quality, genuine leather, and that's why I went with this route. Also, if I ever go into a venue where I'm not allowed to carry, I can still wear this belt because it's still quality leather, and the buckle is looks like a regular buckle as well. So there's nothing about this belt that screams out, this guy carries a gun. So that's the reason why I like these belts. Now, there are other manufacturers out there that make belts very similar to this. They may not have, or they may have the same ratcheting system. They may not, but that doesn't mean that they're not good quality. The main thing that you want to have is sturdiness in the belt. So even with this, like, I'm really squeezing right now, and I cannot fold this over, and that's what you want. Same thing with this other belt. I cannot bend this over. I'm really trying right now. Like, I'm really trying to squeeze this, and it's just not going to fold over. And as a result of that, you know it's going to be able to support the weight of your gun. Support the weight if you have extra magazines, or if you have an extra light on your waistline, or anything else that you may want to carry along your waist. It's going to support that weight. And when you're looking into your companies to buy your belt, the companies are going to tell you what the rating is for how much weight it can support. Now, that leather belt could support 4 pounds, and that's the lowest level that I go with. 4 pounds is more than enough to carry my gun, an extra magazine, and maybe a few extra items if I choose to. Now, there are belts that carry more weight. Nothing wrong with that at all. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to what you feel is most comfortable, what you like visually, and functionally what's going to be the best item for you. So that's going to be your main determining factor. For me, I just like to look good as well. Even though no one's going to see this belt, I want to look good for myself. So that's why I picked those belts accordingly. But at the same time, they're functional, and they're doing exactly what they need to be done, because that's the main priority first over how they look. So those are some of the things that you want to look for when you're looking for your gun belt. And there are a lot of other manufacturers like 511, Vetter, Crosby Holster, Safariland, I think maybe even have some belts. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of options out there for you for a legitimate, good quality gun belt. So make sure you do your research, look into your to the rating for how much weight it can support, look at the system for how it locks to see what's going to be the most comfortable and ideal for you. Maybe you want a ratcheting system. Maybe you want a system where it's kind of like a loop over where you tighten it yourself, like an old school style belt. Or maybe you just want a standard looking belt that has the notches in there. Or maybe you want a belt that clicks into place. There's different options, and what's the most comfortable for you is going to be the determining factor. So just make sure you do your research accordingly and pick out the belt that's going to work best for you. Now, holsters is the other item that's not as glamorous. Now, it's all going to be a determining factor based on how you carry, whether it be appendix or at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. This holster is made by Tenacor. This was my first holster, well, not even my first holster. This is the primary holster, I should say, that I used to have for my Shield Plus when I was carrying at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And the reason why I went with this holster is because of the form factor being so small, so it doesn't take up a lot of space in my waistline, and it's actually very comfortable, and it has some features on there that makes it even better for concealment. So one of the things you'll notice is that I have these loops where the belt will go through, and because these are very small material loops, they don't really poke out from your belt to kind of print. And for the most part, most of your clips are not going to print anyway. But if you can lower the level of material that's between your waistline and your outer shirt, then it just makes it easier for you to conceal. So with this particular holster, I liked it a lot because of that. The form factor is small, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. It also has this little piece right here, which kind of like a wing. And what this does is when I tighten my belt will interact with this piece and pull the gun back towards my waistline, making that frame, the grip, press against my body, making it less likely for it to poke out and print. So this is the reason why I went with this one by Tenacor for my Shield Plus. Now, there are other manufacturers that make inside the waistband holsters for 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock position, 5 o'clock. And some of those are going to be similar in size to this. Some of them are going to be wider, where they kind of wrap around your waist. And at the end of the day, it still comes down to what you feel the most comfortable with. But for me particularly, I just like the way this was cut, and just the way that it felt along my waist. So that was the primary aspect for why I went with this particular holster for 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock when I was carrying on my side. Now, this particular holster can also be worn appendix. I just chose not to because I have a different holster dedicated towards that, which is now my current everyday carry whenever I do carry my Shield Plus, and that is this holster here. This one is made by Tier 1 Concealed, and this also has a sidecar where I can carry an additional magazine. So the reason why I went with this particular holster is because this one wraps around my waist right in the front, and I typically carry appendix right down Main Street, meaning that this is like right in that sensitive area. And I know a lot of you are like, what the hell? No, I couldn't do it. Believe me, I was with you. Now, it took some time for me to get used to appendix carry, and that's a different subject for a different day. But once I started getting familiar with appendix carry, I tried a number of different holsters, and this one turned out to be the one that felt the most comfortable. And primarily because of how it wraps around my frame. Now, not to say that this is going to work for everybody, because there are different kinds of holsters, and everyone has different body types and frames. So for me, this one worked perfectly, but not to say it's going to work for you. And there are a number of different options, once again, when it comes to appendix style carry holsters. Even from Tier 1, they have different holsters other than this. Some without a sidecar. So if you only want to carry your gun in appendix style, and you don't want to have a sidecar, or you want to carry in an appendix but in a different position like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, then they have other holsters for that. There are other brands as well, Tenacore, T-Rex, Vetter, just to name a few. There are a lot of different companies that are very good in quality that will make a holster that will properly fit for your body frame. And at the end of the day, you just have to do what you feel is the most comfortable. And I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes you're going to have to go through a number of holsters before you find the right one. And don't feel bad about that, because there's a lot of us who have a bin full of holsters that they've tried and it just did not work. I definitely have one of those right now. Actually, I got two. So it took a while for me to find a holster that actually works for me, and I couldn't be happier with this one, but it took me some time to get there. So I say all of this to basically point out that the main thing for us is, when you're looking for what's going to be carrying your firearm, you want to make sure that you're making the proper investment and not cheaping out, because you're depending on these items for your gun. Your gun is protecting you, and your most valuable item that you have is your life. You're depending on your gun to protect your life. Why would you have the main item that you have to protect your life cheapened out by carrying it in something that is not as dependable? It just doesn't make sense, and it's not in your benefit. So don't cheap out on what's protecting you. If you're going to spend that money for your gun to protect your life, spend that money and invest wisely on what's protecting the item that's protecting you. Do your research accordingly. Find the item that's going to work best for you, depending on how you're going to wear your gun. Whether it be appendix, whether it be 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whether you have a light on there or not. Some of these companies will make custom holsters to fit with your gun and your light accordingly. Especially also if you have an optic on there, they'll make it as well so that it'll fit properly, give you the right retention, so that way you don't have to worry about your gun sliding out of your holster because it's not properly sitting in the holster properly. Or on the reverse side, if you draw your gun, that the holster's coming along with it, and now you have to worry about trying to separate your gun from your holster, killing valuable time that you need to draw your weapon. From a belt perspective, you don't want to have a belt that's going to start weighing down, and now it's sagging and your gun is sagging along with it, and now you're printing. Or it's just so loose against your body that it just doesn't feel comfortable. and it becomes a hindrance to wear. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you buy something that is going to be legitimate and functional for what you need it to do, but at the same time, you know it's going to be durable enough to handle what you need it to handle. A $20 belt or a $20 holster is just not going to do the job for you in most cases. And even if it does for maybe a week or a month or two, it's only a matter of time before it fails. And that time when it fails could be the time when you need it to work the most. So once again, do your research, find the companies that are very well known for making the products that they're providing. Make sure that it's something that you feel comfortable with, whether it be how it locks or how the holster interacts with your belt, where you're going to wear it on. So there are a number of factors that you want to take into perspective when you're looking for your holster, but do your due diligence accordingly, and I promise you, you will find a holster that's going to do the job that you need to do. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. If you have any suggestions for holsters that can help someone else out as far as companies that are reputable, please provide those in the comments as well. Or if you have any comments as far as content that you would like to see covered or ways that we can improve on the page, by all means, please provide them, because each one teach one, and a lot of us don't know what we don't know. So if we share the information, we all benefit from this. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the journey.